Greetings and welcome to this week's True Sky Sidereal Astrological Weather Forecast, also known as alchemical astronomy, as we are taking the current astronomical positions of the luminaries and celestial bodies as they move along the line of the ecliptic in real time, moving through the constellations known as the zodiac. And the combination of the luminaries and the zodiac is what creates the weather for us here on Earth. Essentially, astrology is meant to be like the weather. This alchemical energetic combination creates certain predispositions and energies for us to play with, because we also still have free will. Predetermination and free will exist at the same time. Everything is a paradox. So if you might be thinking, hey, wait a minute, isn't this what astrology is? And if you are thinking that, in fact, you are incorrect, but it's nothing, you didn't do anything wrong. Tropical astrology is an incomplete system, is a seasonal social construct because the spring equinox is affixed to the zodiac. So it's not accounting for the celestial cycle. So it only measures the seasonal cycles on Earth. Every sign has 30 degrees. It always starts on the spring equinox, and it's every year the same, like Groundhog Day. Now, while there is important to recognize the movement from light to dark and the material cycles on Earth, we are not just material beings, we are also celestial beings. So looking at this lens of astrology and harnessing the alchemical energetic combinations of these luminaries in real time as they actually are in the sky is how you evolve as a celestial being. So if you're here for that, stay tuned. Now, I'm trying a new setup this week. I figured out how to get my fancy microphone connected to my not so fancy laptop. And I'm actually recording this segment live as I'm moving the screen and speaking at the same time. This is the second time trying to do it. Actually, the first time there was like an error. It gapped out in the middle. So I'm going to try this again and see how it goes, because I'm learning new things. I'm doing new stuff and having discipline, which actually feeds into what I say later on. So let's do our rundown to start looking at the line of the ecliptic to just get a feel of where everything is, starting out with the sun in Capricorn. That's right. The sun is in Capricorn. Where is it? The sea goat right here. Okay. We've got the sun and Mercury and Pluto. Last week, we had a lot of action with Mercury and Pluto conjunct the new moon. So the moon and the sun are always conjunct on a new moon. And these planets were all together in Capricorn, creating this energy around the value of structures, the ending of oppressive external structures, and how we can create these loving, Capricorn structures from an internal locus of control. So we still got the effects of that going on as we move into this week in the first quarter moon. Moving down the line of the ecliptic here is Aquarius. See, this is how it's meant to function, right? Like when you look at your rising sign in particular, like if a baby was born right now, they would be in Aquarius rising. That's what it means, okay? It means that the constellation is rising on the horizon. So in tropical, it's just figurative. The constellation is not where they say it is, okay? It is based on a computer program and mathematics, not the actual sky. Okay, so in Aquarius, on the horizon here, we have Saturn. It has been there for some time, and it will be there for some time. So planet of limitations and structures, very much Capricorn energy in Aquarius, which is the revolutionary. Moving down the line of the ecliptic here, we have Pisces, another really large constellation. So this is another distinction between this lens of astrology and even Vedic. So Vedic is a little closer because it takes into consideration the precession of the equinoxes. So the luminaries are going to be closer to where they actually are. But Vedic also uses a whole sign, even house system. It doesn't take into consideration things that Pisces and Virgo are huge, for example. Okay, so in Pisces, we have Venus and Neptune. They were conjunct last week. Venus, the planet of values and love. Neptune, the planet of deep spirituality and intangibility. So Neptune has been and will be in Pisces and at home in Pisces for some time. And Venus as well, because Venus is going to go retrograde in Pisces. So we're going to have a long period of time of valuing depth, valuing the unseen, valuing our flexible emotions and the role of our emotions when it comes to accessing the higher realms of our reality. The moon, as I'm recording this on Monday morning, is in Pisces as well and will be in Pisces until tomorrow. So we can see here, the moon moves 13 degrees in the sky every day. It is the fastest moving luminary. And honestly, the one that I pay the most attention to. Now, moving down the line of the ecliptic here, there is Aries, not a lot going on. Again, so you can see how much smaller Aries is compared to Pisces, right? Then we have Taurus, the bull. A decent amount of action actually in Taurus recently. Taurus is our resources, our physical world. Last week, Uranus, the planet of revolution, went direct in Taurus after a period of time of being retrograde. And Jupiter this week is going to be going direct after 3 or 4 months of retrograde as well. So a lot of exciting, expansive movement in our physical world. Like really seeing this as the physical catching up to all of the etheric work that we've been doing recently. Gemini, the twins, we've got Mars retrograde here. I will be touching on this, a lot of actual interaction and energy with Mars this week. So Mars has been retrograde and will be retrograde for another period of time until February. Here we've got Cancer, the crab, and then not much else going on in this part of the sky, but we'll continue the tour. There's Leo, Virgo, again, another huge constellation. Libra, very tiny. And then here, this is my favorite part of the sky, Ophiuchus, the 13th sign. This is another distinction between this lens of astrology, acknowledging the 13th sign, the pattern interrupt in the zodiac. So with the 12, we have the wheel of samsara that goes around and around and around, but including Ophiuchus as the choice point, it is the pattern interrupt or the break in the cycle right over the galactic center, which is a black hole in the womb of our universe. Ophiuchus is ruled by Chiron, the wounded healer, and the element is the ethers, like the fifth element. Okay, so by incorporating this into the pattern, you can effectively create spiral dynamics in this point of the sky. So we surrender with this fixed deep emotions of Scorpio, the death portal, surrender and are reborn through Ophiuchus. If you're curious about this dynamic, I made a lot of videos about this in December because that is when we were moving through this point in the sky. Okay, so there we have, but there's not much going on there currently. And then just returning our way here along the line of the ecliptic, there's Sagittarius, the archer, and then returning here to the Sun, Mercury, and Pluto in Capricorn as we begin our rundown of the specific transits and aspects for the week. Okay, let's start off this week's forecast by looking at the moon transits, the luminary that is the closest to us. The moon acts as a magnet to pull experiences up and through us via the vehicle of our emotions. So where we're at right now, we just had a new moon last week on Wednesday. So we're in the first quarter moon, which is really a period of integration and implementation from those themes in Capricorn last week. So the moon, it moves 13 degrees in the sky every day, as I said. So today it is in Pisces. As of tomorrow, Tuesday, and a little bit into Wednesday, it will be in Aries. Aries is that cardinal fire, the self, right? Assertion. It is Mars energy, basically. A lot of Mars energy this week, actually. So that's where the moon will be on Tuesday, a little bit into Wednesday. And then most of Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the moon will be in Taurus, which will be really supportive of those stable, grounded, slow and steady kind of energies coming through, following up the integration and implementation phase from the Capricorn new moon last week. And then over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday, the moon will be in Gemini. So a little bit more detached and calculated and intellectual with our feelings. Moving on into the week with the larger aspects from the bigger luminaries, we have Mars squaring Chiron, the wounded healer, on Tuesday. So there'll be a bit of an orb around this, but since Chiron is smaller, the orb is smaller. It'll be exact on Tuesday. So we're probably feeling it now as I'm recording this on Monday and probably into Wednesday a little bit as well. So Mars is retrograde in Gemini, and it will be retrograde there until February 23rd. I looked it up in between the recordings here because I was like, oh, I need to know that date. So it has been retrograde since early December and will be continuing to be retrograde until February 23rd. So this period of just rethinking, like evaluating how we assert ourselves. Mars is the planet of the self and doing and asserting yourself, right? Like putting yourself out there. It is Aries energy. It is that cardinal fire, like here I am kind of vibe, right? So in Gemini, it is reevaluating how we think about ourselves, how we think about others in relation to ourselves, and how we can put ourselves first, and how putting ourselves first is not a bad thing, right? Like being detached from the emotional reactions of others, or feeling like we need to take care of others more than we need to take care of ourselves. And if you're triggered by me saying this, it is likely because you have been indoctrinated into the cult of the external locus of control, where we're taught that you're a bad person if you think about yourself more than others. So that's what I'm getting from Mars being retrograde in Gemini, is reevaluating that whole thought process and changing your perspective to realize that thinking about yourself first actually serves everybody else, because the way out is in. The square to Chiron here. So square is kind of an oppositional energy, like it like puts some pressure on it, right? So healing that, Chiron, the wounded healer, is healing our relationship with how we think about ourselves and how we think about asserting ourselves. This energy between Mars and Chiron kind of dancing back and forth has been going on since October, and will continue until March 26th. So just really healing this energy of how you think about yourself, how you put yourself first, and how you assert yourself in the world in the effort of helping the other. So serve yourself first and help the other. On Wednesday, Jupiter is going to be stationing direct. This is the planet of expansion. Okay, so forward movement in growth in an expanded type of way. The feminine, uh, encompassing energy of expansion has been retrograde since October. This happens about once a year. Okay, Jupiter goes retrograde for 3 or 4 months. So we're going to have this energy of like forward momentum, hopefulness, expanded horizons, optimism, opportunities, like finally feeling like you're able to move forward with the expansion of your physical world based on the layered energies that have been hitting us and clearing us of the limiting beliefs within our being, the microcosm, so that we can then take that microcosm on the internal and make it physical on the external. So I'm quite stoked about this. And then for the rest of the week, we have a number of minor aspects in the form of sextiles, and then the sun conjuncting Mercury over the weekend as well. So starting on Friday, we have a sextile between Venus and Pluto. So again, this is a fairly minor aspect, but Venus, the planet of love and relationships and values in Capricorn, really valuing that long-term, slow and steady, responsible, structured progress. But again, reiterating that these structures, when they're coming from the internal locus, when we're implementing these structures from a place of devotion and loving discipline, it's not so oppressive and diminishing, right? So valuing that structure from a heart-centered kind of way, sextiling Pluto, which brings depth, right? Pluto is the deep dark underneath, the ego killer, the destroyer of what isn't serving us. So just having this minor aspect might create a feel for like more depth in relationships. So Friday might be a good day to explore deeper connections with yourself and others. And then over the weekend, we have kind of a sandwich of sextiles and conjunctions between the Sun, Mercury, and Chiron. So again, and this theme of healing coming up with Chiron in the square earlier with Mars in the week, and then these sextiles later in the week. So Friday and Saturday, we'll have the Sun sextiling Chiron. So again, this kind of like highlighting, illuminating the need for healing. Chiron is in Pisces right now currently as well. So healing our spirituality and the depth of our spirituality, the depth of our emotions and how that's connected to our spirituality and what's hidden underneath. So we have that happening on Friday and Saturday, the Sun sextiling Chiron. Later on, we will have on Saturday, Mercury sextiling Chiron. So Mercury, the planet of transmission and communication and how we think, also highlighting this healing energy. So thinking differently about our healing, thinking differently about our spirituality and the depth of our emotions and our ability to heal ourselves by looking at what's underneath. Okay, so we've got these two sextilings book ending the conjunction of the Sun and Mercury. So the Sun, every 4 months or so, the Sun and Mercury do this cycle. They have the fastest cycle because they're the closest to each other. So the Sun illuminates and Mercury is like transmission essentially. But when they are conjunct, it's almost like the Sun overpowers the mind. So it really can bring this shift in your perspective, and hides the mind like behind the sun, right? So we're illuminating the sun, which is the heart, right? So we're moving from the mind to the heart. And with this all happening within Capricorn, right? It's really just highlighting this theme that I've been feeling for the last couple of weeks of implementing these heart-centered devotional strategies, building structures for yourself to keep yourself disciplined from an internal locus of control, right? Disciplining yourself from a place of love, like being your own daddy, essentially, right? If you're somebody who has daddy issues, which is a lot of our society, being your own daddy during these times, in the sense that like giving yourself that practicality, the patience, and the structure to do things properly. And by properly, I mean like taking the time, right? Like we don't have to just zip through everything. Not everything is an instant solution. So like really valuing the slow and steady momentum that can be built by implementing these sorts of strategies. So the sun also being pushing on this energy can create some pressure as far as wanting to express yourself, expressing that kind of creative sun energy. And then that is also going to build on where we're at with the lunar cycle. So kind of to wrap this all up, I would say that the main theme of the week is the lunar cycle. As far as the first quarter moon, like we're going to be hitting the first challenges of the cycle. So maybe the new moon, you set an intention to bring more structure into your life and you're now hitting resistance. I personally experienced this over the weekend. I'm recording this in the morning, but I'm probably not going to get it uploaded until later in the day because I am freaking burnt out. Okay. Like where I'm at in my energetic cycle, my menstrual cycle as a person with a uterus who bleeds lines up with the new moon. So if you have a menstrual cycle, follow that. If you don't have a menstrual cycle, follow the moon, right? And so with the new moon, it's the lowest point of the energy, but in our society we're taught to push, push, push and go, go, go and do, do, do. So I am still dealing with the shadows of this programming. And like, I had set out all these goals for myself to get work done on my new community and the offers that I'm creating for you guys to come and study with me. And so I can share my knowledge. And like this weekend, I was like, oh, I'll get this and this and this done. But like, no, my body just needed to rest. Like I literally needed to have no input and no output and just rest and not guilt trip myself over this. So you might be experiencing similar kind of challenges. And the key with this is like not giving into that all or nothing mentality of like, oh, so you meet a challenge and you give up. Like that was like my go-to strategy previously. It's like, it's not easy. I don't want to do it. Right. But like understanding that challenges and difficulties and sticking points are just information and experience for us along the way in the grand experiment that we're mining here. We're all just scientists mining data essentially in the grand human experiment of experience. Okay. So this energy of the challenges coming up, this as we're integrating and implementing the strategies that we set intentions for with the new moon, are there intentionally for us not to give up, but to maybe reevaluate, right? And remember that slow and steady wins the race, right? Slowly building that momentum. That is that energy of Capricorn, right? It's not in a rush. All the earth signs, none of the earth signs are in a rush, right? Except for maybe Virgo with that Mercurian influence, right? Like, but Capricorn and Taurus, which we have a lot of energy this week with that supporting energy from Jupiter going direct. We also had Uranus going direct in Taurus as well. Uranus last week, the planet of shaking things up and revolution, right? So like what I'm getting from this is like the culmination of these energies is really curating the perfect environment for creation for us. Okay, as long as we can chill the fuck out and take things slow and steady. We don't need to zip through everything. We do not need a quick fix. We need to slow down, value responsibility, value the limitations, value the long term, right? And that again is that theme of Venus in Pisces as well, valuing the depth, bringing that Piscean energy into the Capricorn, slow and steady, building momentum one step in front of the other kind of energy. Alongside this energy of like slowly building momentum and valuing depth and the long haul, We also have a theme of healing and rejuvenation with all the different sextiles with Chiron this week, Chiron and Pisces again. And as well, that sun, the conjunction with the sun and Mercury really shading the ego. So blocking the ego or the mind from ruling our experience. The mind in your head, like the brain in your head, is one of three brains in the human body: the brain, the heart, and the solar plexus. And the evolution, like what we're doing here, as the quickening of the velocity of the universe speeds up in the quickening, we're in an expansion period right now on the greater celestial cycle. So as this continues to accelerate, we're going to lose density, and it's going to be inevitable that we move from using the head, the mind, the brain as the primary mode of operation into the solar plexus. Okay, so either the solar plexus or the heart, which is the astral bridge, is where you really want to be making decisions from, not the head. When you make decisions from your mind, you try to intellectualize everything and get everything figured out and be certain and sure about things. That is 100% going to keep you doing the same thing that you've already done. The brain does not think outside of the box. The brain does what is familiar because it saves energy and keeps you safe and small. Okay, so this theme of moving from that mode of operation, using the brain and thinking things through, to a more peaceful, spacious trust and knowing that your heart and your gut will lead you into a more expansive way of being. But there, you do have to kind of accept and surrender to the difficulties as far as retraining your brain, right? Like getting your brain to chill the fuck out, essentially. So yeah, that's about it for this week's forecast. I do believe if you like this sort of content, you know what to do. Engage with this video in every way you can. Comment your favorite magical emoji and stay tuned, as I am working on a super secret offering. It's not super secret. I'm just not really talking about it too much yet, but I thought I would tease you. If you're listening to this at the end of this video, you are an OG and I love you. And I want you to comment the burning heart emoji to let me know that you are an OG. But I'm creating a community for us that will have a variety of free and very low ticket offers in order for us to have a space where we can start talking about this stuff together and integrating it, because that is really the whole point. And actually, it kind of is fitting with the whole theme of this week and the energies that have been hitting us lately. Like, the message I'm getting is like, the information age is over. People do not need more information. People need community and integration. So if you're looking for community and integration, comment that burning heart emoji. Let me know that you're an OG, and stay tuned for the upcoming launch of my Bright Light Collective.